All right, so we're diving into gold investing today.
Seems like everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, gold's having a moment, isn't it?
Right.
Even beating out stocks in some polls.
First time in years.
Makes you wonder what's got people so interested, right?
Right.
Is it the stock market being all over the place?
Could be.
Or maybe just wanting to, spread the risk a bit,
Mm-hmm.
diversify.
Smart thinking.
But before we all rush out and buy gold bars,
Uh-huh.
we should probably take a closer look at the whole picture, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gold's got that shine to it for sure.
Yeah.
But like any investment, got to understand the good and the bad.
The whole shebang.
Yep.
So let's start with the why. Why are people suddenly so into gold? What's driving this whole thing?
Well, one big reason is definitely the economy. Feeling a bit shaky.
Makes sense.
Like back in 2008 when the stock market took a nosedive,
Yeah.
lost something like 38%.
Ouch.
But guess what? Gold actually went up during that same time.
Really?
Over 4%.
Huh. So it's like gold does the opposite of what the stock market does.
It often does.
Yeah.
It's got this reputation for being a safe haven.
Like a financial rock.
Exactly. When everything else is going haywire, gold's just kind of hanging out.
Steady Eddie.
Exactly. And then there's the diversification angle. Don't put all your eggs in one basket and all that.
Right.
Gold doesn't always follow the same trends as stocks and bonds.
Oh, I see.
So a little gold in your portfolio can smooth things out a bit. Less bumpy ride.
So it's not necessarily about getting rich quick with gold.
Not really.
More about having that stability.
More like a long-term strategy.
Yeah, gotcha. So we know the why. Now let's talk about the how. And I think when most people think about investing in gold, they picture like those big gold bars.
Oh, yeah. The classic image.
Like in the movies.
Uh-huh. Right?
Yeah.
Like something out of a heist film.
Exactly. But is that really how most people invest in gold?
Honestly, not really. Gold bars are, well, they're not exactly practical.
Yeah, I can
They're
assist.
cheap, expensive.
Yeah.
And you need a super secure place to keep them.
Not going to fit in my piggy bank. What about gold coins, though? Aren't those more manageable?
You're right. Coins are definitely more common for everyday investors.
Okay.
You've got options like the Krugerrand from South Africa or the American Gold Eagle.
Heard of those.
You can buy them from reputable dealers. But even with coins, you've still got the storage issue.
That's what I was thinking. Do you really need like a vault or something just to get started with gold?
You hit the nail on the head. A lot of people get stuck on that idea that you need to physically own the gold. But the good news is there are much easier ways to invest in it.
Like what?
Have you ever heard of gold funds? Like ETFs and mutual funds?
Oh yeah, those keep popping up everywhere. I see them all over my financial news.
They're popular for a reason.
But I'll be honest, I'm not really sure what the difference is between an ETF and a mutual fund.
Sure. Think of it like two different ways to invest in a bunch of gold-related stuff.
Okay.
EPS are kind of like the set it and forget it option.
Easy peasy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They basically just follow a specific gold index, kind of like autopilot.
Makes sense.
Mutual funds, on the other hand, are a bit more hands-on.
Okay.
They're actively managed by professionals who pick and choose specific investments.
So ETFs are more for like the casual investor and mutual funds are for people who want to be more involved.
You got it. And for someone just starting out, ETFs are usually the better bet.
Why is that?
They tend to have lower fees, and they're super easy to buy and sell through online brokers.
Oh, like those investing apps I've seen advertised.
Yep, exactly. Like Vanguard Fidelity.
Yeah.
Even robo-advisors like Betterment and Wealthfront offer gold ETFs.
Cool. So ETFs are pretty user-friendly, it sounds like.
Very much so.
But here's the big question. How does gold actually perform as an investment? Is it going to make me a millionaire?
Well, if you're looking to get rich quick, gold might not be the answer.
Oh, shucks.
And it hasn't historically outperformed the stock market, at least not over long periods.
So it's more of a slow and steady thing.
Yeah, but remember, investing in gold isn't really about chasing huge returns.
Right.
It's about that safe haven aspect and diversification. We talked about that earlier.
So it's more about weathering the storm than riding the wave.
You got it. It's about peace of mind as much as it is about profits.
I like that. And that actually brings up another way to invest in gold. I've heard about gold IRAs.
Oh, yeah. Those are interesting.
But they sound kind of intimidating. Is that just for like serious gold enthusiasts? Or is it something anyone can consider?
Don't let the name scare you. It's basically a way to add some gold to your retirement savings.
So it's like a regular IRA, but with gold instead?
It's similar in the sense that it offers tax advantages and helps you grow your savings for retirement. Okay. But instead of holding traditional assets, a gold IRA lets you invest in gold-related stuff.
Interesting.
And you can set it up through many of the same online brokerages we mentioned earlier, like Vanguard or Fidelity.
So it's not as complicated as it sounds?
Nope, not at all.
All right, so we've got physical gold ETFs, mutual funds, and now gold IRAs. It's like a whole world of gold out there.
You're catching on quick.
Okay.
There's definitely a lot to explore. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's talk about something a little closer to home. Gold jewelry.
Ooh, the bling factor. I'd always heard that gold jewelry is a good investment. Is there any truth to that?
Well, that's where we need to separate sentiment from strategy. You know, that heirloom necklace you love might be priceless to you sentimentally,
Right?
but as an investment, not so much.
So my dreams of cashing in on Grandma's brooch collection are dashed.
Unless your grandma was collecting rare museum-quality pieces, probably.
Okay.
But here's a twist. Remember how gold prices have gone up lately?
Yeah.
If you or someone you know bought gold jewelry a few years ago, like before the pandemic, say, now might actually be a good time to sell.
Really? So those old gold chains hiding in my jewelry box could be worth something.
It could be. Gold prices have jumped since 2020.
Interesting.
When you sell AIM for 70 to 80% of the melt value for jewelry,
Value.
that's the pure gold content. For bars or coins, you're looking at 90 to 95% of the spot price.
Spot price. Got it. I'm learning the lingo.
You're a natural. But remember, for a more strategic investment approach, ETFs and funds are generally the way to go.
Speaking of strategic, we talked about gold mining stocks earlier. Are those a good option for someone starting out?
It's definitely a way to get into the gold market, but with higher risk.
How so?
Imagine investing in a single restaurant.
Okay.
Its success depends on so many things.
Right.
Gold mining companies face similar challenges,
Mm-hmm.
operational costs, global demand, even political stability where they mine.
So a lot of things can go wrong.
Exactly. ETFs and mutual funds spread that risk across multiple assets.
Makes sense.
Much smoother ride.
Oh, okay then. And gold futures? Those sound pretty intense.
Let's just say those are for the experts.
Okay.
Basically, a contract to buy or sell gold at a certain price in the future.
Sounds risky.
It is. High risk, high reward. Traders use them to try and predict price movements, but it's not for beginners.
Gotcha. I'll stick with my ETFs for now. So we've gone through the different ways to invest in gold, from the actual bars and coins to the more hands-off funds and IRAs. But can we take a step back and look at the bigger picture?
Sure.
What are the main reasons people are drawn to gold in the first place? What are the big benefits?
It really comes down to a few key things.
Mm-hmm.
First, that safe haven thing we talked about. When the world's feeling a little crazy, gold tends to hold its value pretty well.
Right.
Economic downturns, political turmoil, even those just-in-case scenarios.
The what ifs.
Exactly. Gold's got this historical track record.
Like it's seen it all.
Pretty much. There's even an expert, Asher Ragovi. He calls gold the ultimate safe haven.
What makes it so ultimate?
Well, unlike currencies that are tied to a specific country, gold's value is more universal.
Makes sense. It's like gold transcends borders.
Exactly. And then you got diversification. Michael Ryan, a financial coach, he talks about how gold often moves in the opposite direction of stocks and bonds.
Right. So when one's down, the other's up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Helps reduce the overall risk in your portfolio.
Keeps things balanced.
Exactly. And we can't forget about liquidity.
Yeah.
John Morgan, the CEO, talks about how easy it is to buy and sell gold.
Oh, that's good to know.
There's always a market for it 24/7. You've got flexibility and access.
So no getting stuck with something you can't get rid of.
Nope. But let's be real. No investment is perfect.
Sure that.
What are some of the drawbacks we should keep in mind about gold?
Lay it on me.
Well, we've talked about the storage and security issues with physical gold.
Right.
But beyond that, the biggest downside for some is that the returns might be lower compared to the stock market.
How much lower are we talking?
There's some interesting data from Anthony Martin at Choice Mutual. From 1971 to 2022, gold averaged a 7.78% return,
Okay.
while U.S. stocks brought in 10.21%.
That doesn't sound like a huge difference.
Might not seem like much, but over time it adds up.
Like how much of a difference are we talking?
Well, Martin uses this example of a $10,000 investment over 40 years.
Okay.
With gold, at that average return, you end up with roughly $62,389. But with stocks, at their average, you'd be looking at over $107,619.
Wow, that's almost double.
Yeah. So while gold is steady, it might not be the fastest horse in the race.
So it's about knowing what you want out of your investments.
Exactly. High growth or steady stability.
Makes sense. So with all this in mind, Where does gold fit into a well-rounded portfolio?
That's the million-dollar question.
Literally.
It might not be the main attraction, but it definitely deserves a place.
Like a supporting role.
Exactly. Financial writer Liam Hunt, he points to big-time investors like Ray Dalio.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him.
He allocates about 5 to 10% of his portfolio to precious metals.
Wow. So if it's good enough for him, and you've been a big fan of ETFs throughout our deep dive, why do you think they're the best option for beginners?
Oh, they're just so practical. Dr. Enoch Amalu, he helps new Canadians with their finances.
Okay.
He talks about how much simpler ETFs are compared to physical gold.
I can imagine.
No storage fees, no delivery hassles, no worrying about someone breaking in your house.
Yeah, that would keep me up at night.
Exactly. Plus, ETFs avoid those high management fees you often get with mutual funds.
So it's like the best of both worlds.
Pretty much. Convenience, affordability, and peace of mind.
Yeah.
All in one package.
Okay, I'm convinced ETFs are the way to go. But one thing that keeps coming up in the news is inflation. How does gold play into all that?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of debate around it.
What's the general consensus?
Well, the traditional thinking is that when prices go up and the value of paper money goes down,
Like what we're seeing now.
exactly, gold tends to hold its value.
So it's like a buffer against inflation.
That's the idea. But the relationship between gold and inflation is complicated.
How so?
It's affected by a lot of things, like interest rates and how strong the economy is.
So it's not a sure thing.
Not at all.
Gotcha. So we've debunked the myth of gold as a foolproof inflation hedge.
Right.
What other myths or misconceptions about gold are out there?
No, there are a few. One of the biggest ones is that gold is only for the super rich.
Like those doomsday preppers we see in the movies.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Hoarding gold bars in their bunkers.
Yeah.
But the truth is, gold can be a smart investment for anyone.
So it's not about being rich or paranoid?
Nope. It's about being a smart investor.
Makes sense. Another myth I've heard is that investing in gold is super complicated.
It's definitely not as simple as buying a stock.
Right.
But with a little research and guidance, anyone can understand the basics.
So it's about doing your homework.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing.
So for someone who's completely new to this and wants to start investing in gold, where do they even begin?
First things first, education. Don't jump in without doing your research.
Makes sense.
Learn about the different types of gold investments, the risks and rewards, how gold fits into your overall financial plan.
So it's like any new skill. Got to learn the basics first.
Exactly. Once you've got that foundation, then you can start thinking about your goals.
What do you mean?
What are you hoping to achieve with your gold investment? Short-term gains, long-term stability, a hedge against inflation.
So it's about having a clear vision.
Exactly. And then comes the fun part, exploring the different investment options.
Ooh, the shopping spree.
Haha, sort of. As we've discussed, ETFs are a great starting point for beginners.
Like the gateway to gold.
You could say that.
Yeah.
But even with ETFs, you still need to do your research and choose a reputable provider.
So don't just buy the first one you see.
Right. And once you've made your choice, remember, investing is an ongoing process.
It's not a one-time thing.
Nope. You need to monitor your investments regularly and be prepared to make adjustments.
So stay flexible.
Exactly. The market's constantly changing.
Like the weather.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to do this alone.
It's comforting.
If you're feeling lost or overwhelmed, a financial advisor can help.
Like a gold guru.
Exactly. They can guide you through the process and make sure you're making smart decisions.
So it's all about finding the right resources and getting the support you need.
Absolutely. It's a team effort.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in our gold deep dive. From the history of gold to all the different ways to invest in it. But before we wrap things up, I'm curious to know,
Yeah.
what do you see on the horizon for gold? Are there any trends or factors that could impact its performance in the future?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's impossible to predict the future with certainty,
Sure.
but we can look at some trends that might give us a clue.
Okay.
One big one is the global economy. If things continue to be uncertain or we see a slowdown in growth,
Yeah.
gold could become even more attractive as a safe haven.
So when the going gets tough,
People turn to gold.
interesting. Another trend I've heard about is central banks buying up gold.
You're right. They've been adding a lot of gold to their reserves lately.
Why is that?
It's seen as a way to diversify their holdings and protect against risks in the global financial system.
So it's like a vote of confidence for gold.
Exactly. And then, of course, we can't ignore cryptocurrencies.
Bitcoin and all that.
Yep. They've become incredibly popular, and some see them as a potential rival to gold.
Like the new kid on the block.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
So the future of gold is a bit of a mystery.
It is, but that's part of what makes it so fascinating.
Well, this has been an amazing journey through the world of gold investing.
I agree.
I feel like I've learned so much.
You too.
But before we say goodbye, I want to circle back to our listener.
Okay.
What's the one key takeaway you want them to leave with today?
I think the most important thing is to remember that gold can be a valuable part of a diversified portfolio,
Okay.
but you need to approach it with a clear understanding of what it can do for you and what your goals are.
So it's about making smart, informed decisions.
Exactly. Gold is a tool, and like any tool, it's most effective when used properly.
Well said. And with that, I think we'll wrap up our golden adventure.
Sounds good.
Thanks for greeting us on this deep dive. Until next time, happy investing. But, before we completely close the book on gold,
Yeah.
there's one more thing I've been thinking about.
Okay.
We've talked about how gold performs as an investment and how it's a hedge against uncertainty. Right.
But what about gold itself?
Hmm.
Is there an ethical side to gold investing? Something we should consider?
That's a great question. And it's something more and more investors are starting to think about.
Makes sense.
For a long time, it was all about the numbers, just
Yeah.
focusing on the financial returns. But now people are digging deeper,
Literally.
right? They want to know the impact of their investments.
Beyond just the money.
Exactly. Like we're seeing with everything else. People want to know where things come from, how they're made, the environmental and social impact.
It's like that whole conscious consumerism movement.
Exactly. And that's spilling over into investing. So with gold, the ethical considerations really come down to mining.
Makes sense. Mining can be pretty rough on the environment.
No doubt about it. Deforestation, water pollution, displacement of communities. It's a big issue.
And gold mining is part of that.
It is. So the question is, how can investors who care about these things make sure their gold is coming from ethical sources?
Yeah, that seems tricky. It can be. The gold market is complicated. Tracing the origins of gold all the way back to the mine isn't always easy.
Right.
But the good news is there are organizations and initiatives working to make things more transparent
That's good to hear.
and promote responsible mining practices.
So there's hope for ethical gold.
Absolutely. One group that's doing some amazing work is the Responsible Mining Foundation.
What do they do?
They've created a certification standard that audits gold mines
Audits them for what?
for environmental, social, and governance criteria. Making sure they're operating ethically and sustainably.
So it's like a stamp of approval.
Yeah, kind of like the fair trade label for coffee.
Oh, I see.
So by choosing gold products that have that certification, investors can feel better about where their gold is coming from.
So it's about being an informed consumer, even when you're investing.
Exactly. Another option is to invest in companies that have good track records when it comes to environmental and social responsibility.
So do you research on the companies too?
Absolutely. Look at their policies, see how they're addressing these issues.
So it's not just about the gold itself, but the whole system behind it.
Exactly. And as more investors demand ethically sourced gold, it'll hopefully push more mining companies to do the right thing.
It's like voting with your dollars.
Exactly. You have the power to make a difference. And remember, this is an ongoing process.
Things are always changing.
Right. The world of ethical investing is constantly evolving. So stay informed, keep asking questions, and do your due diligence.
It's about being proactive.
Exactly. It's not about being perfect,
Yeah.
but about making conscious choices and trying to create a better future.
Well said. I think that's a great message to end our gold deep dive on.
I agree.
It's been an amazing journey learning about this precious metal,
It has.
from its history to the practicalities of investing, and even some bigger picture thinking about ethics and responsibility.
I hope our listener feels empowered to make smart decisions about their financial future.
Me too. And as we say goodbye, I want to leave everyone with one final thought. Gold has been a symbol of wealth and prosperity for centuries.
It has.
But its true value goes beyond just money. It's about the security, the opportunities, the dreams that a well-planned gold investment can help us achieve.
That's beautifully put.
So as you embark on your own gold investing journey, remember to approach it with wisdom, balance, and a sense of purpose.
Great advice.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll be swimming in a pool of golden opportunity.
Aha! I love it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of gold. Until next time, happy investing.